But welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so happy that you are joining us. So we attended a rally and a day of action in DC, and I had such an amazing time. My name is Catherine Sims, and I am the National Director of Community Outreach for NABALSA. I am honored to be joined tonight by a couple of our leaders from different regions across the country. And as people are coming in, go ahead and drop in the chat where you're joining us from. I'm joining from Queens. I'm curious to see where other folks are from. I connected with some people when we were together in DC, but I would love to hear where everybody else is joining from. And I'm gonna toss it over to Azalea.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Azalea. I am a 1L at CUNY School of Law in Long Island City, and I'm the New York Metro Sub-Regional Director-elect for the upcoming Northeast Regional Board. Happy to be with you all this evening.
All right, hi, my name is Kim Hayes. I'm a 1L student at the University of the District of Columbia. I am new to BALSA, so helping my chapter hopefully get activated this semester. Really excited to be here.
I am Jeffrey O'Neill. I'm a 4E at the University of North Texas, Dallas College of Law. I am actually from and in Houston, Texas right now. Happy to be here and share with you all my experience from the last couple of days.
Good evening. My name is Corey Provost. I am a 3L at CUNY School of Law in Long Island City, Queens, and I am the incoming National Attorney General.
Thank you all so much for that. I'm just scrolling through the chat right here. We got people from the West Coast. I see San Diego, got people from upstate, got the Southern region on here, folks from Seattle. Oh, hey, William. I see, oh shoot, we got Oakland in the house. All right, PA and North Carolina, and of course, Brooklyn. All right, well, I'm glad that y'all were all able to join us. Thank y'all so much for those introductions. I forgot to mention, I'm a 3L at St. John's University School of Law in Queens. So I wanna start by asking folks, asking the four people that just introduced themselves, our lovely little panel, what your experience was like in DC, watching the Senate hearings and attending the confirmed KBJ rally. So just to give a little bit of context, if anyone on the call was not able to attend, NABALSA partnered with an organization called Demand Justice that graciously paid for students to fly in, take trains in, and go down to DC to attend a rally and watch parties. So we got together, sat together and watched the Senate hearings and all the craziness that day. And then we physically went outside, and some of the folks on the call even had the opportunity to physically go inside the hearing. So I would love to hear from you all, just some of your thoughts and reflections on the day. And to my four panelists, if you would use the raise hand function so I can kind of see an order of who's gonna speak. And I see, I think, I don't wanna mispronounce your name. Is it Arzak? Did you wanna speak?
Yes,
Your
hi.
hand is raised. Yeah, hi.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yes, I joined this meeting. I want to know like what's the meeting's gonna be about?
Yeah, so we're just discussing what our reflections are on the Senate hearings, our experience when we went to DC, and just kind of our reflections on what we've seen so far.
All right, thank you so much for explaining that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so I will pass it over to Jeffrey to share your reflections, and then Azalea.
Yeah, so my reflections, there are a lot. So it was my first time in DC. So I had to deal with, that. And then also it was my, first time going inside of the Senate halls and the chambers. So that was a lot to take in. All in all, I'll say it was a life-changing experience. It was also a very grounding experience. I say grounding because when I went inside the Senate chambers, I just kind of realized that these people are everyday people that, are just, regular old people that just have a fancy title assigned to them. Some of my experience from being inside of the chambers were these I'll be honest. Some of these people are petty and very, very, very catty with some of the way that they behave. But we saw a lot of that happening with some of the confirmation questions. But all in all, it was really just life changing. It was an experience that I'll definitely remember for the rest of my life.
Wait, Jeffrey, you got to say more. How were they petty inside the hearing?
Oh, so yeah, I was there, what was it, day 3? And Senator Cornyn was, making his plea that he did not feel that the majority leader was being fair to the Republicans there because he was editorializing every comment that they were making and not doing the same for the Democrat side. And I was just like, okay, guys, like, this very elementary type of argument, like you're not being fair to me, and I spilled my milk and you didn't help me pick it up. It's just, it didn't feel like a very productive conversation that they were having. And even the senator from Georgia chimed in and was like, hey, we're here for a certain purpose. I don't know why we're bickering back and forth. Can we move along to, what we're properly here for today? So.
Thank you for that. Azalea?
Yeah, so my thoughts is that I was very proud and I felt extremely privileged to be there amongst everyone. We were organized, we were energized, and it really was a moment to, for us I was able to connect with so many people across, so many other Black law students across the nation. And I thought like that was just an opportunity for us we had a lot of joy in that moment. And I know that like watching the hearings, it's a lot of disgust sometimes where, we're feeling that disgust and we didn't let that shake us because we were, amongst one another, and really being able to fellowship. So in particular, in that moment, I just felt very proud to be a Black woman, very privileged to be a Black law student in this moment. And, I think one thing that we were a consensus amongst everybody was that although, Judge Jackson has to go through this moment right now, like in the end, she will be confirmed as the next justice. And it was wonderful to see how much how much support and how much belief that we have in her, and she was built for this moment. So no matter what they throw at us, we just continue to rise, and it was felt so much in that moment. It also just made me realize like how important it is to be connected to, an organization like NVALSA, and to be involved. This was an opportunity that came up at the I felt like it happened all so quickly. And we were so organized about it, getting people there, getting people back home safely. But if you're not connected to those opportunities, if you're not having, fellowshipping with people within your own local chapter or even broader, then you may miss out on those opportunities. And just really understanding that it's important to maintain that connection. I know we have so much on our plate as law students. Luckily for me, this was my spring break, so I was able to, show up fully. But so many people came in, saying that like, oh, I gotta dip out really quick and attend class on Zoom, but they made it, but they still, made it a point to be there. And I'm just so proud of everybody for, taking that moment to show up.
Thank you for sharing that, Corey.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on something real quickly, was that, I've been to DC a dozen times, but I've never, in all those times, I've never, I guess, even really had a thought to like walk over to the Supreme Court building. And so that was my first time walking up those stairs. And in that experience, what I found the most interesting was that as you're walking up the stairs to the Supreme Court building, and you look at the detail and you look at the architecture, you'll see that at the top of the building, there are 9 men etched in stone. And I think we could all fairly assume that they're white men in flesh as well as white in stone. And just seeing that while we're talking about confirming the first Black woman to be in the court was just a transformative experience for me. Like it really hit home that, the way they designed this building, the intent behind it, and where we are now was really just an amazing experience.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Corey. I didn't even notice that. Now I'm like, I gotta go back and look to see if I see the men on the building the next time that I visit. So if any of you on the call were watching the hearings, and I think they're still going on right now, there were some wild comments that were made or wild questions that were asked. At one point, we were all sitting at a table together, just watching, just in disbelief, like, wow, they're actually saying these things out loud on national television. Some of it, it's like, okay, I know that they say these things to each other when they're, behind closed doors and chambers, but just to see the craziness that they were saying to her. And Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson was so composed and so poised and just kept herself together. So I was literally taking notes because she was a masterclass on just how to keep your composure and keep your temperament in the face of all kinds of insanity. So my question for you all is, which comment or question for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson did you find most shocking? Yeah, Corey, go ahead, and then Kim next.
There were two questions. I don't even want to call them questions. There were two times. The first was Lindsey Graham, senator from South Carolina, had asked her to rank her faith on a scale of 1 to 10. And I was really in disbelief. The second one was, no shade on you, Jeff, but your brother from Texas, Senator Corrin, he came up and started talking about how when Judge Ketanji was defending Guantanamo Bay detainees, and I think in one of her writings, he claimed that she called President Bush and Secretary of Defense at the time war criminals. And she was just like so confused in that moment. She's like, did I really say that? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, I'm not sure. But if you're saying I said it, maybe I said it. What I was watching today was that there was an opportunity where Senator Durbin was able to research what the writing said. And it turned out that she never said those words at all. She never said those words at all. She never called him a war criminal. And it was just crazy to see that these guys can get up there and say whatever they want to say. And if no one's going to check them on it, you just assume that it was the case. So those were the two. Yeah, he did say he only goes to church 3 times a year, but yeah, but those were the two for me.
Thank you. Kim, go ahead.
I'd say it was definitely also going to go to Senator Graham when he was questioning her about her time as a public defender for the detainees at Guantanamo Bay. And he kept asking her if the opinions in the brief were her personal opinions. And it was just this circular back and forth where she's trying to explain to him, like, I'm an attorney representing clients, and these are the arguments of my clients. Like, that's the job. Like, I literally had to Google because I'm like, didn't he go to law school? Guys, he went to the University of South Carolina. I was like, how does he not understand what her job is, what the job of most all attorneys are, is to make the argument for their clients. And I was just like, I mean, he did that for so long. And it was just like, it was amazing because it's just like, you feel like your senators are so incompetent. But yeah, between that and then him storming out at the end of his spiel saying that, calling death on, like, I think it was 39 detainees, was extremely shocking to me as well, for a member of the Senate. But she handled it lovely. She tried to explain that to him and break it down, and he didn't get it, but I think the rest of us did. So, but yeah, that was mine.
Thank you, Kim. Jeffrey, go ahead.
So my moments were it was either for Lindsey Graham or Senator Cornyn. I'm not sure which one, but when they were trying to rehash, the point that he was attempting to make was about stare decisis and overturning previous precedent. but he used Dred Scott and Plessy versus Ferguson as his examples, and it was just horrible to sit there and listen to him just stumble through that, because essentially what I received from it is that he didn't agree with the overturning of Plessy versus Ferguson or Dred Scott. So if that's an issue for you, then that to me tells me you have an issue that slavery is no longer a thing, or separate but equal is no longer a thing. And it's just the incompetence for him to use those cases as his basis for his argument was just laughable to me.
Thank y'all for that. Oh man, y'all touched on definitely the most shocking moments for me. It was definitely Cornyn with the Dred Scott and Plessy, and homeboy Graham talking about, I don't even want to repeat what he said because it was so disgusting, but yeah, when he wished death, like it was just unbelievable that he actually said that. So I think Kim touched on it a little bit, but the next question is just Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's reactions to all of it, because at some points it was the head tilts for me. They would ask her a question and she'll be like, what does this have to do with my job? What are you asking me? Why are you saying this? And I think she did such a great job. Devon said, did they take the MPRE? I know some folks took it today. I hope it went well. But in all seriousness, I really do think some of the questions that they asked were just wild and absurd. And she did such a great job keeping her composure. I was definitely like taking notes of some quotables from her. And my question for you all is, do you have a favorite quote or moment from Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson during the hearings? Yeah, so I see Kim and Azalea both jumped in. Real quick, I'm gonna share mine. I think the part, or like the theme that jumped out at me from everything that she said was just, I'm me. Like my judicial philosophy, I'm not gonna be like any of the other justices. I'm going to come, I think the exact language she used was, I'm gonna stay in my lane. Like that's what I've done and that's what I'm gonna continue to do. And that was just so powerful for me to hear her say that, because I do think as law students and Black lawyers, they always are trying to push us into some box or make us look like somebody else. And I appreciate that she stood in her power and was like, nah, I'm gonna do me. Okay, I'm gonna go to Kim, Azalea, and then Corey.
Yeah, I definitely think my favorite moment from Judge Jackson is one that's kind of going viral right now. But her exchange between her and Senator Booker just was so amazing. If you haven't watched it, it's on YouTube. It's about 11 minutes and it's worth every minute. Because I think one thing we saw was how strong she was over the course of the hearings. And in that moment, we got to see her be vulnerable, So like Black women, we always have like, you're a strong Black woman, independent Black woman, but she was standing in her strength and she was also standing in her vulnerability in that moment. And I think it's something that we all needed to see. And then the fact that was coming from a Black man. So that dialogue was just beautiful. I loved it. So that was my favorite moment.
Thank you, Azalea.
Through this entire process, what I love that, Judge Jackson is doing is that, right, this is a hearing to be confirmed as the next Supreme Court justice. And she keeps bringing it back to that role. Every time they throw a question at her that has nothing to do with her qualifications of being a judge, she brings it back to the reason why we are here. We're not here to discuss my faith. We're not here to discuss my philosophies on, or I think there was the senator from Tennessee, speaking about define a woman. And what she does so well is she's saying, so subtly, but so loudly as well, as she's saying, look at my record as a judge. You all are here to confirm me as the next justice, and that's what we're going to talk about, is my record, my methodology, and she does it so well. And after she's done doing that, she smiles, and it's the smile for me, because she's saying, you're not gonna trip me up, no matter how hard you all try. Like, you're not gonna do this. Like, so I think for me that has been the most that has been the most she's just been phenomenal throughout this entire process. But she's so clever in being able to say, you're not going to trip me up. I see what you're doing. And I'm not going to allow you to do that. And even in the instances where, Senator Graham had asked her something and she was just like, yes, no, like just direct questions to the point, like, duh. And so for me, that has just been like the most, the greatest thing that I think that she's doing is she keeps bringing it back to the point and the reason why she's in front of the Senate.
Thank you, Azalea. Corey.
Yeah, I think for me, there were two instances. One was, I don't remember what she said specifically, but I believe they were questioning her on how she gave out certain sentences, trying to make it seem, I guess, maybe like she's a soft on crime kind of person and trying to hit that home. And she pretty much told them, no, I did my job. If you want me to do something else, you need to tell the judges what to do. You're in Congress, you're supposed to make these laws that we make rulings on. So if you want something different, you need to do your job, which is pretty much what she said. So I thought that was good. And then the other one was her exchange with Ted Cruz, where he was asking her, and this goes, I think, to Azalea's point, where he was trying to ask her about some books at her kid's school, and she's like, no, that doesn't come up in my work as a judge, which is what I'm here to talk about. Like, that's we're not talking about that.
Thank you for that. So I'm curious to hear just how everybody's communities are responding to the hearings. So I was shocked to see that my school, in our moot court room, they actually have been live streaming the hearings all day on campus, which I was shocked because I feel like campus was real quiet about it. Like beforehand, nobody was talking about it. So I'm curious to hear, just like at your campus and even with your family and friends, what are people saying about the hearing? Do you hear people talking about it? And I know, like, us being law students, the conversation might be a little bit different, but I'm just curious to hear people's reactions and reflections on the hearing. I see Kara said it's dead silent at the community college. Yeah, I'm sure. I'll go to Azalea, and then I don't want to butcher this name. Is it Jess? Jess, I'll come to you after Azalea. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say that I'm on spring break, so I have no idea what they're doing over there at CUNY School of Law. But I will share that I got a text message from my mom like the day after Senator Cory Booker's. So they're like tuned in and they're very much, participating in all that's happening. And I think for me, what really helped is she said that he really did, she said he really did restore her soul at the end. And she gave kudos to him and she was like, Jersey in the house. So it really, as someone who is not, my mom is, not very, like politically engaged or anything like that. But like, this is such a moment that has so many people tuned in. And it just shows you like how the conversation is being, how this conversation is just being had throughout, communities in ways that we don't even recognize.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I go to Jess, my grandmother is actually on this call. And she made me feel guilty because I was like, dang, grandma, you watching everything. And I surely was not watching everything on Monday. So yeah, it definitely is bringing people together and getting people to have the conversation that might not normally watch. Yeah, her name is Janelle Gardner. If you see her on here, that's grandma. Yeah, Jess, go ahead.
So I'd say there is silence at my school to some extent, but our school definitely has a notice board where they post, I guess, occasions where our professors make media. And one of our professors, she was a former judge. Her name is Angela Robinson. She made a couple op-eds, and that was the time that we saw it mentioned like publicly around through all of our classmates. But aside from that, it's been like pretty silent. And I kind of picked up a bit of microaggression too. I know like in one of my classes, like I had one professor like bring her up and he mispronounced her name. I don't know if that was intentional or not. He said Judge Katanya Brown Jackson. And I didn't think too much about it, but aside from that, there was like just silence. And once I saw the newsletter about this event that you guys are holding, about this discussion, it had me thinking, why isn't there like more programs like, you know, in my class on like events like this? So I actually emailed that professor just a couple minutes ago and asked her if she wanted to do like a symposium on it, and she said she wants to. And so we're gonna try to have a discussion on it next week. So thank you for setting this up. Thank you for setting this up. It's actually inspiring.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. Jess, where do you go to school? Do you go to Quinnipiac?
Yes, Quinnipiac.
Okay, that explains a lot about what you just said. Connecticut, right? Okay, I thought so. Okay. Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing. And I hope that your event goes really well. I'm going to go to Devon and then Jeffrey.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us, Catherine. I really appreciate you having this. The panel is amazing. I remember your faces. I go to school with some of them. And at City University School of Law, at CUNY Law, we have a lot of issues going on in the Black community. Actually, I think around this time last year, our dean was exposed for calling herself a slaveholder. And now around this time, we have a new dean for that reason. So I'm not surprised that although we're on spring break, they're not saying anything, because I feel like our school tends to be very ambulance chaser. Like if something's wrong, they'll chase it. Or if you got like 1,000 followers, or if you're getting reposts, then they'll repost it too. But if you're just like saying it and, you know, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, doesn't make a sound, not at CUNY. It makes absolutely not a sound. Most times I'm in a group chat by myself, just like, bah, 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 bah. And people will see it, but they won't necessarily say anything, because I feel like it's very follow the leader at our school. And I do think I agree with Jess. We should have more courses on jurisprudence, on diversity, on the Supreme Court. You know, because I read an article that says something like, and it's really strange to make this point, but nevertheless, Clarence Thomas is still a Black man, whether we agree with his views or not. And we tend to see it like, oh, well, if there's a progressive liberal, then we can like see how much attention we get so it can fuel our progressive views at a progressive school. But at the same time, I feel like they don't tend to appreciate the diversity within the Black community, because I think would generally just scary to them. And I think Ketanji Brown Jackson is no anomaly in this instance. You posted in the group chat, not in the group chat, you talk about it at school, or, you know, you talk about it on a platform, and no one's gonna really say anything unless everyone else jumps on the bandwagon. So I think, in short, it's not silent. To Azalea's point, I don't think that it's because we're on spring break why they're not saying anything. I think that they're just not sure if she's gonna get confirmed or not. So they don't want to jump on the bandwagon too fast, because then they're going to have to recant their statements. Whereas here, we're proud, we're honest, and we're true, because we know where we come from and the levels of diversity that we come with. So yeah, I think that's why it's silent, because we just don't have enough Black people at school. And it's amazing to be a part of this organization, because this is where we get our Black voice amplified.
Devon, thank you for sharing that. Jeffrey.
Yeah, so in my community, I'll make a soft push for everyone to come down and transfer to UNT Dallas College of Law. I haven't been in a class this week that hasn't talked about the confirmation hearing. So some of the professors at my school, they've been very receptive and I guess really just open and upfront about what the impact of this means to everyone in the country. I even had a hour-long class today, and we took 35, maybe 40 minutes just talking about the confirmation hearing. So at UNT Dallas, at least, we're having the conversation. So that's something that I appreciate. Even with other pivotal moments within the last couple of years, we've talked about it in class. Some of those conversations, like some of the protests, I won't say all of them have been great conversations. They weren't always the best comments, but then if a professor or a student has something that doesn't quite sit right with the Black students there, we still have a conversation about it. So I appreciate that at UNT Dallas. That's not a plug for Dallas per se, it's just a plug for UNT.
Okay, I'm a little biased because I'm also from North Texas. So I'm here for all the plugs for North Texas. Yes, absolutely. Jeffrey, thank you for that. And I'm glad to hear that those conversations are happening somewhere. And it sounds like they're engaging and they're fruitful. So I'm happy for y'all. So I have one last question, and I definitely want to give all four of our lovely panelists an opportunity to answer, but I also want to open it up so that any participants on the call can also answer this question. So the last question is, what have you learned from watching the hearings, and just any final thoughts that you have? We are going to end right at 8:45. So if your hands are still up and we didn't get to you, please feel free to just drop your thoughts in the chat. And I think I might even play that video at the end if anyone wants to stay on, the video that Kim was mentioning earlier, where Cory Booker gave his remarks to Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. So I am gonna open up the floor, and Jacqueline, I see your hand, so I'll start with you.
Hi, my name is
There you go.
Jacqueline Archie. I am a pre-law student, and I'm also the president and one of the co-founders of the pre-law Black Law Student Association chapter at my school, along with Kara Taylor, which is on the call as well. And for me, this was it had moments where I was inspired and I felt great, but honestly, it made me feel exhausted to be a Black woman. This is someone who is well established. This is someone who her reputation should speak for itself. Her resume is extensive. She went to the Ivy Leagues. She got all the right, internships and clerkships and opportunities, and she utilized everything that was possibly there for her to make her better. And it felt like, in the face of, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because I feel like it does. And I still feel like in my mind, she's already been confirmed, right? It's good, we're good. But it was exhausting to watch. It was like, we can be all of these things and still not be good enough. And that was the biggest takeaway that I took from that. One thing, and I know this isn't like a lawyer or anything like that, but Monique made a statement on a show, and she said, Black women don't get their roses or don't get the accolades that they deserve until they're dead. And this was recently said. So in my mind, I'm watching this, and that statement from Monique is just going through my head. Like, oh my gosh, this is so exhausting. So that was my takeaway. It's not that I didn't, love the great moments. I did, but that was my biggest takeaway.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Jacqueline. Jeffrey.
Yeah, so my biggest takeaway goes back to what Kim was saying, and hopefully we'll get a chance to play the video from Mr. Booker. What my biggest takeaway was how to be true, authentic, honest, and support Black women when it's necessary. Oftentimes when we're in white spaces, we feel uncomfortable to express what's really on our hearts and our minds, and to see Representative Booker have that honest conversation, like it was just them two in a room sitting there, was really moving to me. I think that those words that he shares needed to be echoed in that moment, and for him to have that authentic moment in that setting really meant a lot to me. I know it meant the world to Judge Jackson, and I think it was really needed in that moment, because the previous person I was speaking was saying it was exhausting to see all of the things that were going on, and the questions and the commentary that was being shared that day. So being authentic, true, and honest, and supporting Black women when they need to be supported is what my biggest takeaway was.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Kim.
I think my biggest takeaway was going into law school. I've never seen myself as someone who would go into law as a public defender, but hearing her speak so passionately about how the right to representation is so core to our values, to the Constitution, to just, the American system, of this idea of just, innocent until proven guilty. And hearing her like dialogue on that made me look into appellate public defender work. And that's what representation does, especially, for people like me. Like, I'm a first generation college grad, so a lot of this stuff is just like trial and error. Like, there are a million spaces of law. And so when you see a Black woman in a space like this, and she's telling you, I was a public defender, and this is my resume, this is the work I did, and this is where I'll end up. It was so powerful to me. And it's crazy because we needed a public defender. We haven't had a public defender since Justice Marshall, but that's what she's being criticized most for, it seems, by Republicans. But for me, it was her talking about being a public defender, I think, was very special. So
Thank you, Kim, so much for sharing that. Jessica.
Hello, I'm Jessica Page. I'm a three-year evening student at UNT College, UNT Dallas College of Law. I forgot where I went. My biggest takeaway from this whole ordeal is really just to remember where we are in time. It was a good reminder of how far we've come since Justice Marshall was confirmed and sat in that same seat. But it also is a reminder that we have a long way to go. And as a Black woman, just like one of the other students says, you can do everything right, and people are going to find something wrong with you. And me and Jeffrey have been working on the Pass of the Gavel project, and it's like the comments that we kind of see online, we're like, what's wrong with these people? Have they, do they read, or we don't know, but they just find anything wrong. And so it's just a reminder to remember who you're doing it for, and remember that we're doing this because we haven't made it yet. So there are people in front that will come behind us who need us to do this work. And one day we'll be even greater, just like Senator Booker said, like, America is just going to get better and better because of this.
Jessica, thank you so much for that. Devon.
Thank you so much. One of the takeaways that I got that hasn't been mentioned yet, two things was, one, just the witnesses that spoke on her behalf. I was very proud of them. I was like, you know what, you guys are on your way too to whatever you want to do in life, because they're not shaking you either. And I was very proud to see that they also were looking to Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson for like a level of professionalism and how to carry themselves in the Senate, not to mention where they're going in their individual lives. Similar to what Jeffrey had mentioned earlier, we talk about this stuff all the time, as well as with the LGBTQ non-binary system and genders involved. Like, it's very important that we look at the history of how Black women have been treated in this country, and how Black men have been this, like, supposedly this ideal of protection for Black women. And I feel like over the generations or over the decades, we haven't been doing that. And that's how Black women have been so vulnerable. So it was very inspiring to see Cory Booker speak up about that in such a way. And yeah, just generally speaking, I was overall just really impressed with how everyone took the stand to recognize hard work. That's all.
Thank you, Devon. Angie.
So, like a couple other people have said about Cory Booker's speech, it was amazing. But something that really stuck with me is her accomplishments, them speak volumes for themselves, but the way that he sees her as standing there for our ancestors, like as a first-generation American, a first-generation law student. Anywhere you've been, you've seen a service person of color, and you've given the look, like when you're in an office or when someone thinks that you're the paralegal instead of the attorneys. Like, there are so many microaggressions that happen to us daily. And when you see a service person and you like the people in the cafeteria at school, the people of color, I'm always like, hey guys, because they are the ones that we do this for. Like, we are our parents' wildest dreams. Like, the things that people have done to get us here really matter. And like, again, her accomplishments are amazing, but it's just a Black person sitting in that seat this far in the process alone is just mind-blowing.
Angie, thank you for that. So in the interest of time, I am gonna hand it over to another Black woman to speak. Jeffrey and Jess, if we still have time, I'll come to you after, but Erica, go ahead.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Hi, I'm Erica. I'm a 1L at the University of the District of Columbia, David A. Clark School of Law, long name, here in Washington, D.C. I just wanted to kind of reiterate what it was, Devin or Devon. I really apologize.
Devon, thank you.
Devon, okay. About the witnesses. I know day 4 is not a lot of fireworks, but I had the opportunity to sit in on day 4 and listening to her friends, specifically Mr. Rosenthal. So if y'all have a chance to go back and look at it, just talk about how they've been friends since 12 years old, and just talk about her as a human, as a person, really humanizing her. We've seen her be attacked really all week. So it was just beautiful to hear. And I don't think even anybody on the opposition could say anything against her in that moment. So I encourage y'all to go back and look. But specifically, my takeaway was from when Senator Booker was talking about not letting anybody steal his joy in this moment. And a lot of us have talked about how, you know, it was hard to watch them attack her pretty much. But I think that this goes a long way, that we really can't let them or anybody really steal our joy in this moment, because we really just watched the first Black woman be, you know, sit for a confirmation hearing to the highest court in the land. And that is like unprecedented. And so despite all the little clips that we're going to see, you know, that's something that we really need to hold on to as future Black attorneys, and then take that into your law school or your pre-law classes as well. You know, we face a lot in our classes and just in this profession. We can't let them steal our joy in any situation. So we just, you know, have to kind of be like KBJ on that one. So appreciate y'all for holding this. This has been great. And so good to see everybody. Thank you.
Erica, thank you so much for that. We got like a minute left. I will open it up to Jeffrey, and then Jess, you can jump right in. And I am going to play the video at the end of the call. So if you want to watch it, feel free to stay on.
So all I have to say, I'll be quick, is everyone goes to this link I'm posting. We still have work to do. Write your senators, let them know that they should confirm KBJ. And that's it. I'll go.
And I'll just say that watching a hearing just reminded me of this thing my pastor used to always say, is that a trial always comes before a blessing. So whenever you're about to accomplish great things, there's going to be a lot of opposition. And seeing this also reminded me of like why we need to see more like Black enterprise, because I think we can't expect I guess white institutions to recognize Black excellence. We have to recognize it for ourselves, and we need to create a more Black enterprise that actually recognizes Black talent and recruits Black talents, because there's not a lot of Bidens or Justice Breyers in the law firms. You know, a lot of law firm HR, they're probably a lot like the white senates that were impeaching her, and less like Joe Biden.
I'm so glad I let y'all speak last. I'm so glad y'all had that last word. I'm so glad that y'all all joined us for this call tonight. That's it as far as conversation and sharing. Jeffrey, did you want to say something? No? Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, I'm gonna just play the video, so feel free to hop off the call. But as soon as the video is over, I am gonna end the call. Let me share my screen. Oh, not Kendrick. Don't share Kendrick. There we go.
Any one of us senators could yell as
Can you
loud
hear?
as we want that Venus can't return a serve. We could yell as loud as we want that Beyonce can't sing. We could yell as much as we want that astronaut Mae Jemison didn't go all that high. But you know what? They got nothing to prove. As it says in the Bible, let the work I've done speak for me. Well, you have spoken. You started speaking as a little girl, watching that man right there try to raise a family and study law while your mama supported everybody. You spoke in high school when you started distinguishing yourself. And you know what you said when they told you you couldn't go to Harvard? Watch me. I went to law school. I didn't serve on the law review. You did. I didn't clerk at every level of the federal court. You clerked for a Supreme Court justice, one widely respected on both sides, which really shaped you. You left there and you went to private practice, and you know what you found? This is what you told me, that you had those tough choices that working moms have to make, the demands of a private law firm, raising your kids. It just didn't add up. You went before this Senate 3 times in a bipartisan manner. God bless America. We don't do that much stuff bipartisan around here. You went to become a public defender because you wanted to understand all aspects of the law. Who does that? We live in a society that's very materialistic sometimes, very, very consumeristic. You went into, do people become public defenders for the money? No. Your family and you speak to service, service, service. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not letting anybody in the Senate steal my joy. I told you this at the beginning. I'm embarrassed. It happened earlier today. I just look at you and I start getting full of emotion. I'm jogging this morning and I'm at the end of the block I live on. And I get terrified because I put my music on loud when I'm jogging, trying to block out the noise of the heart attack I'm having. And this woman comes up on me, practically tackles me, an African-American woman. And the look on her eyes, she just wanted to touch me because I'm sitting so close to you, and tell me what it meant to her to watch you sitting where you're sitting. And you did not get there because of some left-wing agenda. You didn't get here because of some dark money groups. You got here how every Black woman in America who's gotten anywhere has done, by being like Ginger Rogers said, I did everything Fred Astaire did, but backwards in heels. And so I'm just sitting here saying, nobody's stealing my joy. Nobody's going to make me angry, especially not people that are called in a conservative magazine demagogic for what they're bringing up that just doesn't hold water. I'm not going to let my joy be stolen because I know you and we appreciate something that we get that a lot of my colleagues don't. I know Tim Scott does. When I first came to this place, I was the 4th Black person ever popularly elected to the United States Senate. And I still remember a lot of mixed people, white folks, Black folks work here, but at night when people are in line to come in to clean this place, the percentage of minorities shift a lot. And so I'm walking here, first week I'm here, and somebody who's been here for decades doing the urgent work of the Senate, but it's the unglamorous work that goes on no matter who's in offices. The guy comes up to me, all he wants to say, I can tell, is, I'm so happy you're here. But he comes up and he can't get the words out. And this man, my elder, starts crying. And I just hugged him. And he just kept telling me, it is so good to see you here. It's so good to see you here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love my brother, Tim Scott. We could write a dissertation on our disagreements. He gave the best speech on race. I wish I could have given good of a speech. But talking to the challenges and indignities that are still faced. And you're here. I was in the White House with my Democratic colleagues, and I'm in my joy. I can't help it. and the president's asking our advice, who should we nominate and whatever. And I look at Kamala and we have a knowing glance, which we've had for years when she and I used to sit on this end of this committee at times. And then I try to get out to the president what it means. What it means. And I want to tell you, when I look at you, this is why I get emotional. I'm sorry, you're a person that is so much more than your race and gender. You're a Christian, you're a mom, you're an intellect, you love books. But for me, I'm sorry, it's hard for me not to look at you and not see my mom, not to see my cousins, one of them who had to come here and sit behind you. She had to have your back. I see my ancestors and yours. Nobody's going to steal the joy of that woman in the street, or the calls that I'm getting, or the texts. Nobody's going to steal that joy. You have earned this spot. You are worthy. You are a great American. Your hero is Constance Baker Motley. Mine, she has sat on my desk for my offices that I've held. She's my icon of America. Her name is Harriet Tubman. There is a love in this country that is extraordinary. You admitted it about your parents. They loved this nation, even though there were laws preventing them from getting together. When they were loving, there were laws in this country that would have prevented you from marrying your husband. It wasn't that long ago, it was last generation. But they didn't stop loving this country, even though this country didn't love them back. And what were the words of your heroes and mine? What did Constance Baker Motley do? Did this country that she saw insult and injuries, when she came out of law school, law firms wouldn't even hire her because she was a woman. Did she become bitter? Did she try to create a revolution? No, she used the very constitution of this nation. She loved it so much, she wanted America to be America. As Langston Hughes wrote, "Oh, let America be America again." The land that never has been yet, but yet must be the land where everyone is free. Oh, yes, I say it plain, America never was America to me, but I swear this oath, America will be. That is the story of how you got to this desk, you and I and everyone here, generations of folk who came here and said, America, I'm Irish. You may say, no, Irish or dogs need to fly, but I'm going to show this country that I can be free here. I can make this country love me as much as I love it. Chinese Americans, first forced into near slave labor, building our railroads, connecting our country, saw the ugliest of America, but they were going to build their home here and say, America, you may not love me yet, but I'm going to make this nation live up to its promise and hope. LGBTQ Americans, from Stonewall women to Seneca, hidden figures who didn't even get their play until some Hollywood movie finally talked about them and how they were critical for us defying gravity. All of these people loved America. And so you faced insults here that were shocking to me. Well, actually not shocking. But you are here because of that kind of love. And nobody's taken this away from me. So you got 5 more folk to go through. 5 more of us. And then you can sit back and let us have all the debates. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a well-charted Senate floor because it's not going to stop. They're going to accuse you of this and that. Heck, in honor of your person who shares your birthday, you might be called a communist. But don't worry, my sister. Don't worry. God has got you. And how do I know that? Because you're here. And I know what it's taken for you to sit in that seat. Harriet Tubman is one of my heroes because the more I read about this person, the more, she was viciously beaten. For her whole life, she used to fall into spells, cracked skull. She faced starvation, chased by dogs. And when she got to freedom, what did she do? Did she rest? No, she went back. Again and again and again. The sky was full of stars. But she found one that was a harbinger of hope. for better days, not just for her and those people that were enslaved, but a harbinger of hope for this country. And she never gave up on America. She fought led troops in the Civil War. She was involved in the suffrage movement. And as I came back from my run, after being near assaulted by someone on the street, I thought about her and how she looked up. She kept looking up. No matter what they did to her, she never stopped looking up. And that star, it was a harbinger of hope. Today, you're my star. You are my harbinger of hope. This country is getting better and better and better. And when that final vote happens and you ascend onto the highest court in the land, I'm gonna rejoice. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the greatest country in the world, the United States of America, will be better because of you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right.
Kim, thank you for bringing up that video because, yeah. Well, I hope y'all have a good night. I'm going to end the call now, but I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did and that you have a great night. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night. And good night to your grandmother, too, if she's still here. Good night. Thank you so much. Ancestry. Thank you.
I'm so proud
Thank
of
you,
you, Jackie.
Ancestry. Huh?
I said I'm so proud of Jacqueline. Thank you so much, honey. You did a lot to us.
Bye, y'all.